want to start with just what made you decide to start this charity, if it was you that personally started it.
It was.
And where did that come from, that idea?
My then daughter-in-law at that time was diagnosed with breast cancer at age 32, and our grandson was 1 year old. And so it's so difficult to think about, and it was very aggressive. She also has the BRCA gene. It was very difficult to be here in Kansas City with our son and our daughter-in-law and our grandson in Austin, and how can we provide care for them? So we were sending them food and going down there as often as we could. So when she finished her journey, she realized that there wasn't a breast cancer resource in Austin. At the time, the Young Survivor Coalition was here in Kansas City, and the intent for that is when you finish your treatment, you have an organization that can help you just transition more comfortably back into your life and out of this scary day-to-day concern that you're going to, to lose your life to this disease. And so she and some of the young survivors in Austin had seen artists take bras, using that as a symbol of survivorship, and turn them into pieces of art. And of course, Austin is filled with artists, so they put the call out to the artists in Austin. And when they got the designs in, they thought, wow, we could style these out and wear these on a runway and, do an auction and raise money this way. And so for me, she called me and she goes, would you and your friends in Kansas City make a bra design for us? And I thought, wow. She walked the runway. I mean, she lost her hair, she lost her boobs, and now she's going to walk a runway wearing a bra. And that was very compelling to me.
It's very empowering.
Courage. It is empowering. Actually, that ends up being one of the things that when we launched here in Kansas City, we didn't even know about. And I'll say more about that in a minute. But then I was diagnosed with breast cancer just like 3 months after her first event. And I had all of my treatment at KU. And Janice Benjamin, who's still one of my very best friends, was vice president of fund development for the KU Cancer Center. And so I had dinner with her and I said, hey, I just want to tell you about this event that they do in Austin, which I think is super cool. And maybe the Cancer Center here in Kansas City would be interested. So I had to talk to Adele Hall about it because she was a big donor at KU, and they really just wanted to make sure, was this too edgy for Kansas City? I mean, Austin is funky, and they're very proud of that. And she loved it. She loved the idea. So we launched in partnership with the University of Kansas Cancer Center, and pretty soon they hoped that we would raise $20,000, and we raised $90,000. And then pretty soon, I'm going to back up just a minute, because after I had told her that about this idea, I was literally facing my third reconstructive surgery. And I was sitting in Dr. Corntager's office at KU when she called me and said, the board has decided that they want to go forward with this. And what we want you to do is we want you to raise money for what we're going to call a Patients in Need Fund that would support uninsured and underinsured breast cancer patients. Okay, so I've now had 4 surgeries totally, facing my third surgery just related to reconstructive surgery, and my response was, what does that mean? What does that mean if you don't have insurance? Do you not get reconstructive surgery? What does that mean?
How does it affect them?
Yeah, how does that affect them? And so I was just like, I'm in. I'm totally in. I mean, I get a little teary-eyed just talking about it even now. And so I went in and I told Dr. Corntager what we were going to do, and he said, my wife and I are in, and then we launched. So as I was saying then, initially we were hoping that we would raise $20,000. We had it at Dan Miner's event space, and we just kept selling tickets, and pretty soon he said, I can't let any more people here. We have a fire code. And we raised $90,000. And then very quickly, we were sitting on $300,000
Wow.
at KU. So I got it into my car, and KU developed these marketing flyers to talk about how women without insurance could come to KU for these services. And I drove into, I went to Swope Park Medical Center and drove to a couple of other medical centers in our underserved communities. And I realized that so many of those women don't have transportation. So the distance from the eastern part of Kansas City to Westwood, Kansas is unattainable. So that's when we decided, okay, we need to take the money to the women. So our next center we opened was at Truman Hospital, at that time now University Health. And then one of our first-year models lost her life to breast cancer, Verda Salberg, and she asked her friends to donate in her honor to Bra Couture KC, and they donated $40,000. And so research had been bugging me about putting a center in there, but they're for profit, and then I found out they had a foundation. So I reached out to the foundation and I said, we can come there, we can build the center. Now we pay for the physical build out of these centers, meaning we buy the lumber, we buy the shelving, we buy the products. And so I said, we're ready, we can do it now. It has to come under the foundation because the foundation is nonprofit. And the deal breaker is it has to be called Verda's Place. And
what's the name of it?
Verda's Place, in honor of Verda and all of her friends. And I really felt like they needed something physical to see as a result of donating $40,000. And so then we opened up that center. Then we started supporting Cancer Action. And then our next center then our next place that we moved to was Sam Rogers to work with them to provide their free mammogram screenings. We just gave an additional $10,000 to KU because they're going to open up a center at Olathe Hospital. KU just bought Olathe and Liberty. And then next we go to Liberty. So, our purpose, and I think one of the most compelling things that I came across in meeting these patients that we provide this care to, and I asked her if she was able to work while she was in treatment, and she said no. And I said, is your employer understanding of that? And she said, well, I have an hourly job, and if I don't work, I don't get paid. And I just could not believe that. So she doesn't have insurance, and she doesn't have an income. So that's when we started paying rent directly, utilities directly, and providing food and gas cards.
Could you, so for people who might not have had a family member that has gone through cancer or has dealt with something like this that's happened to someone close to them, can you give an idea as to what the financial impact is to somebody and like how many treatments they need? What do these treatments look like? What are
the costs associated with this?
Yeah. What is it like as somebody who has gone through breast cancer? Can you kind of just briefly touch on exactly what your life looks like during the span of trying to deal with it? And then maybe if you have the statistics on how many people beat it versus how many people pass away from it, like your friend Verda did.
I don't have those kinds of statistics. And in relationship to the impact of being diagnosed with cancer, it really depends upon the diagnosis. I mean, let's just talk about, so Julie Green, Trent Green's wife, was on the runway last year. Well, she was fortunate that she discovered her lump early. She was able to have a lumpectomy and radiation treatment, and that was all that she needed in order to survive. But if it's somebody who has cancer that has gotten into their lymph fluids, then the chances of surviving are very, very slim because the lymph fluid is carrying that cancer all through her body, and tumors are going to pop up all over. So it's really dependent upon the kind of cancer. There's many, many different kinds of breast cancers and what the treatments are in order to help them survive. It could be, it could be something that happens over a 3-month period, or if it becomes metastatic breast cancer, like one of my team members or team leaders has metastatic breast cancer, then the odds are there's no cure for that. So there are treatments that will sustain her life, but right now, as of today, there is no cure for metastatic breast cancer. So then that also means that the cost of managing this diagnosis varies as well. It can, it could be $6-7 million of dollars depending upon how long you have it and what kind of cancer it is. So
for most people, total financial, just completely decimating somebody's financial life.
Absolutely, because particularly if you don't have insurance. But even so, there's so many variants of insurance programs and what they cover, what they don't cover. So if you're fortunate, you have a policy that covers all of it, but not everybody has that. So you are left with, you're left with debt that's affiliated with this diagnosis that you have to pay. And treatments like chemo treatments, they can cost as much as $250,000 a piece. I mean, it's really, really, really extraordinarily expensive.
When you work with the hospitals, do they work with you guys, being a non-for-profit that you are? At one point you were sitting on that $300,000, and then to hear that, one chemo treatment could wipe out your entire, what you've raised for one person's one treatment. Do they help charities and so forth? I mean, do hospitals work with you guys at all in this capacity?
Well, then it falls into either mostly it would fall into Medicaid if you do not have insurance. And fortunately for the state of Missouri, you can pre-qualify for Medicaid now. You don't have to file an application and wait to be qualified in order to get your cancer treatment, which is extraordinary, actually, because you can qualify for Medicaid and you can go into treatment immediately. Because all of our funds strictly go for uninsured and underinsured cancer patients, so we're really trying to work with them to provide all of the other kinds of services they need that treatment doesn't cover, like wigs, prosthetics, surgical supplies, wheelchairs,
transportation,
crutches,
rent, all those things you mentioned earlier.
Transportation, rent, food.
Right.
So that's what we focus on. We when they come into our center, what I really love about it too is that the nurse navigators are the ones that bring them down to our centers that are physically located on within these hospitals. And so then they can just sit down and go over the whole entire list of services that we provide and choose the ones that they want. They need to receive.
Do you guys have to staff these centers yourselves and pay for them?
No.
Okay.
See, that's really what's beautiful about this is that because they're physically located inside of the hospitals, they're entirely run by the foundation. So we know that those donor dollars are being managed absolutely within the guidelines of the IRS. And then secondly, they are brought to our centers by nurse navigators who know them, who are working with them and understand their financial status and what they might need. Now, I want to say something about that. So originally, they were getting their wigs and their prosthetics and food, like liquid food. One of the stories that I love to share is there was a gentleman at Truman who had been diagnosed. Well, he had throat cancer and then it returned. And when it returned, which is common for cancers that come back, there isn't a cure. So he had a projected 3 months to live, and all he could eat were liquid foods. And that's something else that we provide in our centers. So we also only take care of patients while they're in the hospital and what do they need when they're in the hospital. So he finished his treatment and they called me and said he really only has 2 to 3 months to live. How do you feel about continuing to provide him with the food? So we did that. We provided food for him for the rest of his life. And so I was going to make a point there. I got emotionally involved with that story. But then I still think that, I know what I was going to tell you. So originally women were looking, there's two things. Originally women were really coming for prosthetics and liquid food and surgical supplies and wigs. But when we started offering these additional services, then the highest percentage of our funds are actually being used for those basic living expenses. Mm-hmm. And so I was with a patient, and I was really excited about meeting her, and I knew that she had a double mastectomy and that she had lost her hair. So we had picked out wigs for her, we had picked out prosthetics for her, but when she came in, she just said, no, she goes, I'm going to bypass these appearance items. The prosthetics particularly are what make her appear normal again, since she doesn't get reconstructive surgery. So she said, I'm just going to bypass this, and I really just need help with my utilities, and I need food and gas cards. She looks up, and she sees these baseball hats. And they're like pink and blue and green. And she asked if she could have a hat, and would we help her pick out a color. And I realized that there were only 3 hats up there. So Nick Kinney, who is with the Kansas City Royals, is on my board. So I called Nick, and I said, Nick, can we have some Royals baseball hats? And I think he donated like 300 hats to us. So the Royals hats are in all of our centers all over Kansas City. Because they're choosing not to do the wigs, which would use their patient allocation. They're choosing food and gas and
That's
utilities.
Wonderful. That's awesome to hear that the Royals are so quick to want to jump and help out.
Yes,
too.
yes. The Chiefs as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
As far as the events coming up, let's get into those a little bit. You guys have a series of events going on in October. What's some of the ones that come to mind for you that you want to highlight?
Well, I would start with Supplement Superstores workout. We are so excited about that, and just very, very grateful. We were talking a little bit about this before, about that there are breast cancers that are driven by genetics, and then why does it seem that women are being diagnosed younger and younger and younger? And we were talking about, we felt like it really depended upon their nutrition. And with Supplement Superstores focusing on that very thing, I think it becomes something that is even more important. If you're really talking about helping women stay healthy and staying away from, and we don't know what causes cancer for sure, but when you're eating tons of preservatives and additives and who knows what else is in our foods, I think nutrition then becomes something that we need to be promoting. So there is the Supplement Superstore, and then Club Pilates. They have 4 different stores in Kansas City, and they're having a competition between their stores and selling some pink items within their stores. And then I was able to get a Patrick Mahomes football for them to use as a raffle. And they've already sold $2,500 in 2 days.
That's awesome.
So we're really, really excited about that. And then HotWorks there's like 11 different organizations doing this. HotWorks, Woodhouse Spa, Monarch Plastic Surgery's having an open house tonight to benefit Bra Couture KC. Quinn Plastic Surgery, he will donate one of his spa treatments, and we get the proceeds from that. So we're very blessed. And then what I love are these high schools that have these pink outs, and they just ask for donations for Bra Couture KC, whether it's soccer, baseball, basketball. And what I really love about that is really increasing the awareness of the risk of breast cancer, particularly in young women, and helping them understand the importance of self-breast exams, because obviously mammograms are not available for that age group. So I love that you get that many young women involved to spread that word.
When would you advise it to be the right time to start self-examining like that?
I think you should start as a 20-year-old. Since since women are now being diagnosed in their 20s, I think it's very important that you just pay attention.
What's the gene that we mentioned earlier that 90% of women that have that gene develop breast cancer?
I just threw out that percentage.
BRCA.
Yeah, let me look it up real quick so I can actually have the correct.
BRCA?
Yeah,
The
BRCA,
BRCA gene?
BRCA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it easy for someone to figure out if they have that gene?
Yes. All they have to do is do a genetic testing, and then it's really, the best way for them to research it is to look at their ancestors. Like, did they have aunts that lost their lives, or mothers or grandmothers that lost their lives to breast cancer? And if they have, and there's, a history of that in their family, then that's a good indication that they need to go have the genetic testing.
Sure.
To find out if they have it.
If you have the BRCA gene, 50 out of 100 women that have it will have breast cancer in their life before the time they're 70.
That's yeah. I didn't actually know that percentage.
And also, it's 10 to 46. That's a pretty wide range.
Right.
10 to 46% chance of ovarian cancer.
Right, which is the reason why those women are advised to have a double mastectomy and have their ovaries, and
Removed as well.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. The other thing that is important to point out is that men have breast cancer too. So we've had an NFL referee on our runway who was a breast cancer survivor. So it's important that men are aware of this, and they're doing breast exams, self-breast exams as well. The other thing that I wanted to share with you that I think is really important, initially we raised money for breast cancer patients, but then what started happening is lymphedema at that time is a condition that's caused by cancer, whether it's in your arm, if they take lymph nodes from under your arm, or in your legs, if they take the lymph nodes from your lower extremities, then you may have to wear a compression garment for the rest of your life. And insurance wasn't paying for that, which now they are. They started in January of this year, actually. So we started getting requests for funds to pay for lymphedema garments for men. And then that has led us to 3 of our centers in Kansas City focus on breast cancer, but 3 of our centers provide care to men and women and all cancers. The only requirement is that you are at or 200% below the federal poverty level and you don't have insurance. So now out of Truman and Verta's place, it's about 50-50 that we provide care for men and women. And we're really proud of that because it's important to get the word out about that we do care for men as well. Originally, when we launched and I would go talk to men business owners, they would say, well, it's just another breast cancer fundraiser. Isn't anybody raising money for men and men's cancer? Well, now we are. Yeah. And so we had a very young soccer player on the runway this year in April, and he was diagnosed with prostate cancer at 18 and really impacted. He was on track to be a professional soccer player, or at least be on a team that was extremely competitive. He played in Spain and Germany, and so now that we're putting men on the runway as well, and we usually choose what they're going to wear mostly based on what their favorite sport is. So we hope this year that we will have a gentleman who contracted cancer when he fought in the Vietnam War from Agent Orange, and he's fighting skin cancer now, and he wants to walk the runway as ZZ Top. So we're pretty excited, but he's struggling with his cancer a little bit. We're just crossing fingers we get to have him because he's delightful.
Sure. That's amazing. You spoke on the event that Supplement Superstores is going to be holding, but I know there's a tremendous amount of detail as far as they put into it with the different trainers that are going to be there. Tori, can you walk us through about what to expect from that event, when it is, where is it, and then how people can get involved?
Yeah, so it is Saturday, October 12th at 10 a.m. at Park University, and we have, I believe it's 8 different trainers from the Kansas City area from all over. So we have them from Northland, Kansas. We have them from all over. So we have Olivia Derry, Kirsty and Tony Abinoha. We have Caleb and Tatiana Blankenship, Shay Gilpatrick, Alex Baird, and I feel like I'm missing. Oh, Justine Tapp, of course. So we have all of them. They're going to be leading a circuit workout. So each trainer is going to be hosting a section of the workout, and everyone's going to be broken up into groups so that these trainers have intimate time with these groups, and then everyone's going to rotate. And it's a donation-based benefit workout. So the workout is going to be a suggested donation of $10, but people can donate whatever they wish, they feel, or whatever they feel
feel
like.
free to donate more.
Donate more. And actually, recently we had a sorority reach out to us. I forget the name of them, so I apologize. But they are going to actually help us out. They're going to bring some snacks for the workout, and Sharon will be there with her team so that they can talk a little bit about what Bra Couture is about to the people that are coming to the workout. And should be an hour-long workout with a warm-up and a community cool-down. And that's basically it, just getting everybody together for a really good cause in the community and for funds that stay local to our community. So really just giving back.
That's a very, very good point. Well, one of the things that we're really proud of is that, first of all, we're a volunteer-driven organization, so there's only one person on the payroll in the organization, and all of the money that we raise stays right here in Kansas City. It doesn't go to New York or Washington, D.C., and they decide how much of it is going to trickle back to KC. It all stays here. We're virtual, so we don't have a lot of overhead, and we're really, really proud of that. We've raised over $5 million in the 14 years that we have been doing this.
It sounds like a great deal of those those millions of dollars is obviously going back to the patients that need it most. And you guys are doing a great job. There's always the alarming stat when I think of like the national foundations that we hear of a lot, the percentage of every dollar that actually goes to the help. And sometimes those numbers are alarming. I remember the United Way at one point, it was like 19 cents of your dollar. The other 81% goes towards promoting it, administration. And you see how much some of these CEOs make, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, I actually just, out of curiosity, looked one up recently, and I was pretty stunned. It was like over $1 million.
I don't know enough about this, and I don't know if you do, but when I think of breast cancer awareness, the first time I was brought awareness to the issue itself was from the Susan G. Komen Foundation. There was some kind of like controversy with Susan G. Komen Foundation, wasn't there? Does anybody know about this? I thought it was like there's a reason why you don't see it nearly as often now, and it was because something had happened along the way. And so I thought that for a while, that there was some kind of public outcry where it was difficult to trust these cancer foundations. And so I think that you guys are doing a phenomenal job of bringing that back and
keeping it here
and making it clear that it's all staying here. And I just love to hear how well you guys are running it as far as the overhead being so thin to make sure the people that need it the most are getting those dollars.
Exactly. So the biggest and most fun thing about Bra Couture KC is every year we have an annual event. This year it was April 19th, and next year it's May 2nd.
And this is the runway we were talking about earlier?
Yes. Okay. So originally we were holding it at Signature Hangar at the downtown Kansas City airport, which was, they took all those private jets out, and we made it look like a ballroom. We had chandeliers and the whole thing. And it was just funky and fun and unique and interesting. But there was a storm. There was a storm in Kansas City, and all the airplanes were parked on the tarmac, particularly the smaller airplanes that are used for the flight training program. And there was a storm in Kansas City, and that storm only landed in one place on the tarmac right outside of where we were sitting up inside, and destroyed about 19 airplanes. Do you remember that?
Oh, my gosh.
They were tossed and turned. And so Signature Hangar donated that space to us. And it's 120,000 square feet, and we needed all of it. And so they said, hey, we can't do this anymore.
Sure.
So the only place in Kansas City that would accommodate us is the Grand Ballroom at the Convention Center. So moving from a funky, fun hangar where you had to worry about outdoor toilets and getting electricity to whatever you wanted to do on the inside to the Grand Ballroom, oh my goodness, that's
and this is at the Kansas City Convention Center downtown?
It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous, and the whole back end of it is glass, and so you overlook the Kauffman Stadium. I'm hoping I can convince them to bathe it in pink for our event on May 2nd next year.
Kauffman Center, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
or Kauffman Performing Arts is what I
Yes,
should say.
Kauffman Stadium. I'm thinking of the baseball field.
Yeah, me too. I should have said Performing Arts. So we sell out at 1,200 people, and this is where we have cancer survivors on the runway. Most of them are wearing designs that are designed by professionals from the Kansas City design community, and they have a lot of fun. They donate all the materials and their time to make these fashions. You can see some of them on our website at bracouturekc.com. And we still stick with the bra. Look at that. We still stick with the bra as the symbol of survivorship.
Sure.
And they have to decorate around that to keep with our theme. And we were talking earlier about the impact that this has on women. So, it's kind of like we said, they've lost their hair, they've lost their boob, they've been through chemo. If they have radiations, they could have scars. And for some women, particularly single women, that's a huge difference in their body and their interpersonal relationships. And some of them have been hesitant to date because of
huge rock in their self-esteem.
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly. But they come out on the runway. First of all, they're with all of these survivors just throughout the whole entire thing. And they come out on the runway, and there's 1,200 people that stand up and scream for them. And we've heard from them that they realized that they needed to be proud of that. They needed to say, by gosh, I'm a survivor, and I may be walking with scars, but I got through this. I survived. And they feel empowered and renewed again. One of my favorite stories is Lamar Hunt's wife, Rita. She walked, I think, our 3rd year. And he just grabbed me and said, he was sitting at my table, and he just grabbed me and said, look at her. She is glowing. And she has really been struggling with the after effects of having breast cancer. And this is so good for her. And she comes back every once in a while and walks the runway with us. So, yeah, so that's one of the powerful things we love that we didn't know was going to happen, but that women have this opportunity because we have hairstylists and makeup artists, and it's very theatrical. It's really super, super fun.
Yeah,
Very cool.
It sounds like a wonderful opportunity for anybody who's on the other end of it.
And so we look for sponsors. We look for people to donate items for the live auction. Like I was saying to you, for 2025, we have a private jet that has been donated for an auction package. And then we also look for items for our silent auction. So, and then also we look for volunteers, because our team is made up of about 35 volunteers that have been doing this together since the very first year, but we need about 100 more individuals to volunteer the day of the event and the evening of the event.
Well, you've got us convinced that, this is something that we want to absolutely continue to help with. Please tell everybody that's listening how what's the best way to get a hold of you if they'd like to be somebody who wants to make an impact with Bra Couture KC as well.
Okay. So you can find my name, Sharon Payne, on our website, and all my contact information is there. And our website is bracouturekc.com.
Easy enough.
Yes.
There it is.
Yes.
So they'll just go right over here to the contact.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely. And they can email me directly or call me.
Easy enough.
Yes. And then we also look for, we're still looking for men who are cancer survivors. We have one gentleman that's going to walk the runway for us. He is going through stomach cancer right now, but we'd like to have more. So if there's a gentleman that would be interested in walking as a survivor, we would love that. And he can reach to me directly as well.
Do they have to wear a bra?
They do not wear a bra.
Okay.
Let me say more about that.
If it's testicular cancer, they got to wear a Speedo.
We never made it clear before. It's just saying.
Yeah, no, we're very, we want this to be very classy. And also every survivor story plays before they come out on the runway. So they're going to tell you what they've been through, that it's hell and back, and their friends and family are there cheering them on, and who helped them get through this journey. So whatever they wear on that runway has to be respectful of that survivor story. So we make it very classy, very, very, very elegant. And like I was telling you, our first male survivor was an NFL referee that the Kansas City Chiefs flew in. He wore, for the first time ever, an official NFL jersey that the whole Chiefs organization signed, including Clark. And it was really cool.
That sounds very powerful.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate what you do. Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for being yourself and inspiring so many. So
thank you.
We appreciate you.
So honored with this partnership. It's been such a joy working with Tori. So we look forward
Tori's
to this.
great. She's awesome.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank
Sharon.
you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.